and to rip everything out from under you is to make you believe that you are not in hell, which that is what we are in. We are technically in hell. If you look at the earth right now, if you look at the way that everything is suffering, this is what hell would look like. It's not a fiery burning pit. Technically we're getting there because the way that the ozone is being heated up and so on and so forth. But that is another conversation for scientific matter. But that being said, like the earth itself, this construct has been turned into what hell would be. But people think that they're still living a human existence in a place that's going to be, their temporary home, not realizing that those who do have souls will reincarnate. You're coming back. You're not going anywhere. You will die. You will go through the process where you will have to relive the things that you went through here on earth, whether good karma, bad karma. You'll have to face all of those, but then you come back. That's how it happens. Like, wow. It's a cycle. And so people don't understand the way that he wins is because he steals your consciousness by perverting your mind. He perverts your mind by thinking, for one, why in the world, in the holy heavens, does anybody seem to think that you are separate from God? Why would God create something so magnificent to separate you from him? Why? And that's why, like, there are people, there's a guy on TikTok that I like to follow. His name is Blessing something, and I can't remember what it is, but he says, he told these people, he's like, Lucifer, the devil, is not Satan. Satan is not Lucifer. Lucifer is the God of your Bible. That is Lucifer. That is the God of your Bible. That is the idol, the false idol. And it's funny because if people pay attention in the Bible, it mentions do not follow the ways of man.
Yeah, I think that I feel like that the Bible could be good, but I think the Bible, they've taken out the parts that we need to understand, and they've created this especially westernized religion that is not at all what...
That's not it either, because there are still parts of the Bible that are there. Like I said, follow not the ways of man. Mm-hmm. The Bible warns you not to follow the ways of man. Well, like, let's take a look at that, okay? What are the ways of man? For starters, the Santa is Satan. Mm-hmm. It's just an anagram. So if you really look at it, like Easter, Thanksgiving, Christmas...
Yeah, but these are all westernized versions of it. This is what America has created. America is where all this
because
devilish...
America is Babylon.
Yeah, I'm with that.
America is Babylon. But at the same time, what nobody's realizing is your modern day Christianity, your churches...
Trash.
Those are the ways of man.
Right.
The path is narrow, for many will try and few will succeed.
Right.
Why is it few shall succeed? Few shall succeed because many seem to think that they've gotten to that path. However, they fail to go further once they reach it. So people who are going into these churches, they think that just because they are saved and baptized and born again, that is where the path should stop. But it is not. That is not how it goes. Yes, you do need to be born again of the water because God is water. God is the earth. God is the air. He's every essence of this existence. And if you stop just because you've been born again of the water, that means you are limiting your body and your mind and your soul the ability to go and to ascend. And it's like, I had a conversation with my previous boss now. I told him, I said, think of it this way. Abraham in the Bible never died. He never died. But he was no longer on the earth. Mm. You have to ascend. You have to raise your consciousness. You have to find a way to connect your subconscious and your conscious to be fully conscious. That is the point. That is what they do not want you to know. That is why they really hung the false ideal of Jesus. That's why they hung him, because it wasn't first off, his name was not Jesus. It was Yeshua, or Yeshua, however you want to say it. It was not Jesus. That was not his name. I said, and they hung him, and here's the other part. If you have all these churches, these Orthodox churches that have all of the perceived and, all of these details of what is to come and what this Messiah can do and all of the, miraculous things that he can perform and this, that, and the other, why would you hang him?
Right.
Why would you hang him? You already knew that he could take the blind and make them see. You already knew that he could take a leper and make him healed. You already knew that he could perform these miracles. So why then is it that he creates an issue or creates a threat to what it is that you're doing on an everyday basis? And why is it that you would think that he wouldn't be the person of which that has been prophesied to come if everything that you were told was prophesied is correct? And so my husband's like, well, that's because of blah, blah, blah. No, stop going into your Bible. You got to stop. You got to draw a line. And you got to look at it. I was like, and I told him yesterday, I said, you either have to choose to stop arguing and start contemplating asking, or what's going to come I cannot save you from. I cannot save you.
Wow.
And he was just like, what? And I told him, I told him, and this is part of why I say there's so much going on. I told him a couple days ago, before I quit my job, it wasn't just my job. I had a gut feeling that I needed to leave the job, but I also know that somewhere in the next 3 to 6 months, whether it be him and I or me and my kids, however, but we will not be in West Virginia. I don't know where it is that I need to go, but I know that I need to go somewhere that's not here. And I told him, I was like, you have to understand that I'm not going to be able to explain it, but we got to go. We got to go.
Wow.
And so the friend of mine that I talked to on Sunday sent me a video. And it was this guy who had a near-death experience, who saw everything that happens saw what it's like and experienced what it's like on the other side, but came back. And so he pre-warns, he says, if you have a gut feeling that you need to do anything, do it. Don't do it out of fear, but do it because you're being guided to do it. And that's when, and she was explaining that is your conscious, that's your angels, your guardians. Those are the people watching over you from the other side who have already ascended and will not reincarnate. They are the ones who are guiding you. And so essentially she's saying the fact that, I told her, I said, I'm not questioning if I need to go. I already know I need to go. There's somewhere I need to be. I personally want to go to Greece. I don't know why. It's a completely different country. But at the same time, I recognize that might not be where I need to go.
So,
He's not home yet.
So,
Go inside, get something to eat. Go get a snack. I gotta get ready to start dinner soon.
So how do you find out where you need to go?
Say that again.
How do you find out where you need to go?
I'll know when I know.
You'll just figure it out.
Well,
how about this? What about in 6 months? What does your life look like in the perfect world?
I will have no financial issues. I will be extremely wealthy in the next 6 months. I cannot explain it. I don't know how. I can tell you that, but I can tell you I will be living the life that I have always wanted and always dreamed of in the next 6 months.
Do you like helping people?
I do.
How do you like to help people? What are some of your favorite things to do?
I like to help people regardless of what it is. It's it comes down to this. So lately if you're looking at my stuff on Facebook or even on Instagram, yes, I've been working to get fit, and I'm going to be honest, that is because I have to. Mm-hmm. Some part of me is going to need the endurance and the strength in the time to come. I don't know how soon or how far, but Apparently there's something in my future where it's going to be necessary to be in a position that I can overcome whatever's to come.
Have you been practicing fasting?
I had, prior to even using GLP-1 medication, I have done intermittent fasting. I can fast for up to 16 hours.
Good. I think that's important to be able to do coming forward. I believe that, I don't think it's just you. I think there's going to be crazy shit happening in the next 6 months just worldwide. So I don't think it's just you that's going to be going through this journey. I think it's going to be everybody that's going to do it, and I don't think many people are prepared at all.
Well, what I'm saying is, so only those who are awakened will understand.
Right. When you talk about this much to other people?
I'm never shy about it.
Do people
talk about it? Like, I talk about it to my family. My brother, of all people, I don't really get along well with my brother, but my brother gets high a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Even he's awake.
Yeah.
And it says a lot, because he's not the smartest cookie in the cookie jar, okay? Like, he's just not.
Right.
But he's awake. And it comes down to, like, I try to talk to my husband. I do try to, give my kids as much as I can. I try to give the information to my parents. I definitely shared a lot of the information with my boss before I was told I needed to separate, and so I did what I needed to do. But, and I told him, I was like, because he's got a son who's in a mental institution. I said, your son's not crazy. Your son's accurate. The problem is that the world's making him look crazy, because unfortunately they don't want him to speak the truth, and he's got the ability to grab enough attention to speak the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's why they're going after TikTok. That's why they're trying to pull that down, because TikTok is a platform that allows so many to speak openly on these things, and that's where, so...
It's the idea of the internet being real, and they can't, because now it's not controlled. It's the only platform not controlled.
Well, and this was something that I explained to him. I said, you start asking questions, and you start realizing that you need to ask questions when you have situations, like I watched one TikTok video. One video was all it took, and it was like a house of bricks just crumbled right before my face. And so I can tell you, sitting here today, that as a child, probably about, age 3, maybe about 5 or 6, because I'm still in the age of innocence, I used to see ghosts. There were 5 ghosts, 3 males, 2 females. And I used to talk to them as if, they were standing right in front of me, and not realizing that those ghosts were actually real. Those were spirits on the other side of the veil that I was communicating with. They weren't imaginary. And people of other, like, older people, they couldn't see them, because the reality is they had already lost their consciousness because of going through the indoctrination and all of the stuff that, life has thrown at them. And so it was interesting, like, coming through all of these things. But I watched a TikTok video and understanding about, COVID-19. So the whole thing is, in 2005, Bill Gates did a presentation that was before the CIA, other law officials, and a bunch of, medical people.
Talking about vaccinations are going to be population control.
Well, it's not even just that. That wasn't the part that I was focused on. I focused on the part that they were discussing the microchips that were going to go into the vaccines, because they were looking to gain control of the pineal gland. Mm-hmm. The pineal gland is the main gland within the brain that actually deciphers right from wrong, and or what he referred to it as. It was, honestly, it was quite interesting. And it's one of those things that when it grabs your attention and you hear something that grabs that attention, it's for a reason. The pineal gland is referred to as God consciousness. So I immediately stopped, and I started paying attention, and I was like, wait a minute, what did he just say? I had to rewind it like a couple times. Stop it. I had to rewind that video a couple times and re-listen to it, but I made that was the term. It was the God consciousness. And then I started to ask myself, well, why are they so worried about this gland, and why are they so worried about God consciousness? And then I started exploring things, and I started learning about the Illuminati and these secret societies and all this stuff. And I'm like, well, okay.
Did you get vaccinated?
No.
Good.
Heck no.
Nobody in your family did?
Well, my mom got vaccinated. My mom was vaccinated. She received her last booster that was required 3 days prior to having her massive heart attack.
See? That part.
Yeah, that part. And then my husband's mom and dad, they got vaccinated along with his, a good chunk of his family members. The only one who didn't get vaccinated was his twin brother. But essentially, like, we did not. And my mom, it was funny because my mom tried to convince us to reconsider because of our son. Mm-hmm. And I looked at her and I said, woman, I'm going to tell you very, very straightforward, just to help you out. We don't get the flu shot.
Right.
I don't give my children a flu shot. Mm-hmm. What in your crazy batshit mind makes you think I'm going to go and get a COVID shot?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I fight school systems every day because my kids are not up to date on vaccines. Mm-hmm. That's like I got into it with where we're at in Martinsburg for Berkeley County Schools. I got into it because my oldest daughter, who will be in 8th grade this coming year, before she went into 7th, they were talking about, well, she's going to need an HPV shot. No, she's not. And you can come after me and tell me she can't be in school, but she does not have to get that vaccine. That is an electoral shot, one that we have the right to choose. You cannot force her to have that shot. That shot causes ovarian cancers. You're not going to force me to give it to her. Mm-hmm. I said, and if you do, I will get an attorney and I will come for the school system. I don't care.
Have you looked into, like, the pharmakia deception, the whole idea of pharmaceuticals starting and it being witchcraft and spells back in the days?
Yes.
Yeah, that
Well, I mean, all of it, you have to know that all of it is witchcraft.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's just like, so I'm not going to lie. So when I started losing weight, I did have to use the GLP-1 medication, but I did look this up yesterday, and I'm not going to lie, I'm actually kind of surprised because in the kind of medicine that I was on before I just recently stopped, it's basically all amino acids. There's not as much, metals and stuff like that in this vaccine or in this shot, which is what they use primarily for diabetes. And I thought it was interesting because I'm like, well, wait a minute. So why all of a sudden are we looking at a shot that we're using, for diabetics? And by the way, dementia is actually diabetes type 3. It's the third form of diabetes that they just don't want to have the world understand that it's another form of diabetes because they then would have to admit that they have a cure. And they don't want to cure it. They want people to be what's the term? Unlucid. Mm-hmm. Essentially, they want them to see and or be deemed as crazy so that they'll go into these institutions. These institutions collect money and blah, blah, blah. It's all just a big Ponzi scam. Really, it's a bunch of money laundering if you think about it. Mm-hmm. And so it all kind of ties in, and it's like, that's why I said it was like a ton of bricks just crumbled in front of me. And I started to understand, or should I say understand, because it's not understanding. I'm not under the spell anymore. I'm going within. And then after that, I kind of went to the point where I started the
Would you call it interstanding?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, keep going.
Well, inner, you go within to understand that something within you is able to resonate with whatever information you are receiving because that is your soul that is consciously resonating with that, that's attaching itself to that information because it's vitally important that you understand or understand it. That's where, so that also comes down to a lot of people who aren't awakened because they don't know how to heal their childhood traumas, their wounds. They don't know how to heal, and or people call it shadow work. I don't really call it shadow work because it's not really a shadow. Like, I just refer to it like this. So everybody in life is a donut. People are donuts. Humans are donuts. The difference is everybody has the ability to show the outside of, their donut, whether it be a Boston cream, whether it be, the caramel glazed, however you want to look at it. You can be whatever donut you want to be. And everything that the people see that they go to purchase or to interact with or to indulge in is what you want them to see. What they don't see is the hole that's in the middle of this donut, where you don't have the center because it's been cut out to make a donut hole, but you don't have the center, and those are your demons. Those are the things that, they're not really demons, they're just things that you never went through to process or work on to understand what was the lesson that you needed to learn from this trauma, this traumatic experience. Like, why did it occur? What was it about this experience that was important that you, instead of addressing and instead of taking that, you allowed it to hinder something? So
Wow.
then,
You just said something that, in speaking on spells over the last couple weeks or however long I've been talking about this with people, you said that it's like donut holes, and if you think about the hole, but people be made whole with the W-H-O-L-E. That's how you. So, I think understanding that hole in the donut, what you just said, that analogy, understanding that or being able to maybe accept that or give up that or whatever it is that you need to do to get past that, that is the being made whole process.
well, that's just it. But that's where it comes down to, and it's not understanding. You're not understanding. To understand means you are still under the spell.
Right.
To understand that means that you have healed something within, and your soul is now consciously resonating with that information, ready and able to receive it and to take it. And so, in all of my process, I was having crazy freaking vivid dreams. They were lucid dreams. I can lucidly dream while I drive and operate a vehicle, which is apparently something that people say is extremely powerful. Don't ask me why or how. I apparently know that I can do it because it continues to happen. There was one lucid dream that I had, I can tell you right now, I can transmute. And I don't understand how or understand how, but somehow I have mastered the ability to transmute every bit of darkness that has come into my life into light. I transmute. So as a child, for example, I was sexually molested by an older brother at a very young age. I woke up in the middle of the night to being molested. And that was traumatic to the point where I had to have my mom had to take me to a hypnosis or a hypnotic, whatever, like therapist, which back in the day, and it's funny because I actually learned this in my process of doing all of this work. Hold on. She went to go get it. But in my process of learning, I had found out that at the time of which that I was a child, so they had to put me through hypnosis therapy to put my mind, a certain portion of my mind, to sleep so that I would stop having night terrors because of what I had witnessed and what I had, in the human flesh of my ego, just gone through for traumatic experiences. Understanding now that when they hypnotized me, it wasn't just to stop those dreams. I had to be switched off, essentially, with my awakening because I was awakening faster than I was supposed to. I, as a very young child, I was having dreams of past lives, dreams of past relationships, and it was weird. It was always weird. I never understood it, but it also, all of it made sense. Like, it was the same day that I realized that I was seeing ghosts as a child is when I finally was able to understand that all of those things that happened to me. Okay. All of those things that had happened, like growing up, feeling like I was an outcast, an outsider, not really fitting in. I didn't fit in because I could feel people's energy. I was able to sense what they were feeling, and I always thought that it was me that was the problem, but it was not me. It wasn't me that was the issue. But I also understand enough to know. So, like with my current job that I quit yesterday, my boss's girlfriend is or was or whatever the office manager. She has an insecurity around younger women and her guys because one of her two husbands left her for a younger woman. Well, she started nitpicking at me and started like coming at me, and I knew the moment that it started that it was an intentional for a personal reason and not a professional. And I started verbalizing that I was aware, and I started speaking to my boss in regards to the situation, and he just allowed all of it to happen. And so essentially what ended up happening is eventually it all came to light. But what it is that everything about my existence is enough to drive even those who say they're of the light but are of the darkness so insanely crazy that literally I will bother everything about them.
Wow.
Everything about my existence will bother someone. And I even told my boss, it was last week before the weekend, I looked at him and I said, I'm flattered. He was like, what are you talking about? I'm flattered that everything within me, everything about my existence bothered hers. And he looked at me, he was just like, are you serious? I was like, yeah, I'm serious. I'm flattered. I knew that all of this drama was personal. Like, and it was crazy because so last week on Tuesday, I had taken off Monday last week and went down to Bethesda to go see a friend of mine to get my hair done because she did it for free. And on Tuesday, I was driving to work. So, mind you, the night before, I started seeing numbers. I don't know if you've experienced that or where you are in your
369.
So 369 is a big. That's more of like the 369 is the manifestation method, but
it's
so
vortex math.
I see.
You know about vortex math?
No, well, I'm not very good at math, so no. I'm assuming it has something to do with the fact that all numbers equate down to 3, 6, and 9.
Not really.
Well,
It's more so that 3 is energy generated. 6 is energy. Hold on, let me think about this. 3 is energy generated. 6 is energy in motion. 9 is energy transformed. And then that's where, like, Nikolai Tesla talks about, if you know 369, you can uncover the keys of the universe. But what they leave out, is that 12 is the next number. So really, we're working on it. We need to be on a base 12 system, and they taught us to be on a base 10 system to put everything in confusion. But it's 3 is energy in motion, 3 is energy generated, 6 is energy in motion, 9 is energy transformed, and then 12 is 1 plus 2 equals 3, and that's energy recycled. But that's the part they don't tell us, because things can continue to go if you understand to recycle the energy that we already have. That's why, like, in the old buildings, they got all them the little things on top of the buildings, like the antenna type things. Because there's way more energy than we understand. That's the satellites.
Why I said, so that goes into the theory of us all being energy. Everything on Earth is energy. That goes into, and okay, so that all goes back into the Big Bang Theory, goes into the Mandela effect. It all equates to the same. And you are correct. So I'm still, again, I don't read, so I don't really go into a lot of stuff. I just grab what I need to know. And at some point, if I'm called to, like, explore more, then I explore more. I probably should explore more. I just don't have enough time. And so
time's an illusion. Time's not real.
Well, correct. Time is an illusion. However, for the journey of which that I am on to awaken, I don't have the time to focus on those aspects deeper at the moment. Does that make sense? Like,
I think you're more distracted. I think the world is distracting you. You have the time, but the distractions are keeping you from going there. But keep on
I've got 4 of them.
Yeah, that's right. But it's more than, it's outside of there too, because you got other stuff that's going on outside of your kids. Those are your main distractions, but those are actually probably in listening to you, your daughter is probably not a distraction specifically. She's there to help you on this journey. She's an assistant. She's not a distraction. She's part of the journey.
She doesn't understand. She doesn't understand it. Well, she's not aware of some of it.
Yeah, well, she's only 12 or something, so she's not gonna understand it yet, but she will.
That all being said, but at the same time, so numbers, right? Like I see sequences of numbers. On Monday night, I was doing finances, and the number 666 came in. Okay, so when you look at 666, my husband looks at it as a devil's number. I said, "You're stupid. I don't look at numbers the way that you do. We don't even perceive the same." And yes, it might be, on the 369, there is another method for that. But in terms of speaking on a soul consciousness level, there are numbers that are used to communicate from beyond the veil. And so the number 666, if you look it up, is actually, it's a warning from the guides on the other side of the veil, letting you know that you need to analyze or evaluate a situation. And I had over the week, before I had even had the gut instinct that I needed to leave my job, Tuesday morning driving to work, I knew I wasn't supposed to go. I ignored it. Because I was like, well, I have to go make the money, blah, blah, blah. Like, and I was so determined to get there. On my way to work on Tuesday morning, 2 other times I had seen 666. On my journey, while I was dealing with the biggest amount of traffic I have ever had to endure trying to get to work the entire time that I was working for this company. I had never seen this much traffic in any one day trying to get to work. And while I was dealing with the traffic, after seeing 666 for the second time, because I had seen it the night before, and then the very first time I saw it on my drive, I was like, okay, why do I have a feeling that I'm not supposed to go to work today? And then I got through the traffic, got back to where I needed to be, and was on my way, and saw 666 again. That's when I was like, okay, obviously it's a sign that I need to know what you're talking about. So I looked up what 666 was, and that's where it was like, okay, that was for me to realize that I needed to analyze what I was doing. Why, I had gotten an intuitive feeling that I was not to go to work, but I was still determined on the human ego side to go. And when I went that day, that is when I found out that my boss's girlfriend, aka the office manager, had been trying to convince him to fire me. He wouldn't do it. So they got into it. They had a huge, argument, fight, whatever. And she had made a comment that day about how he wanted to be with me and it was sick and this, that, and the other, which then just confirmed everything that I had already known within myself. I knew it was personal, it was not professional, this, that, and the other. And I endured everything last week, but the fact was, I was so bothered by the whole situation and the whole circumstance, that whole thing kept coming to the forefront. And then over the weekend, I kept getting this pit in my stomach about going back to work. I went to work yesterday, and I was so uncomfortable. I felt really uneasy. And I was like, you know what, I have to just make the decision, and I left. And so, but numbers are how my guides are communicating. Yours might be communicating through knowledge. That might be why you are able to sit and research a lot of that. Right. I just cannot, I'm going to be honest with myself, I don't have the ability to sit and go through. There's so much information that I don't have the ability to just sit and sort through all of it, because it, for me, would be information overload.
I love this kind of stuff. This I'm a huge fan of learning, and I've realized that the information that's in books typically comes from someone that was on a journey or a path that not only did they live it, they learned it, but they were able to write it. And I think that all that knowledge is so information. In back in the days when Alexander the Great would take over a town, the first thing they did is burn the libraries, because they want to be able to rewrite the history. So if they can say like the January 6th thing, for instance, what's happened on January 6th as far as the media is concerned is the people stormed the Capitol and it was an insurrection and police were killed and people died and it was just this incredible event that is who can believe that something like that would happen. But the truth is, if you were there, that's not what happened. They opened the doors and let people in. That's not at all what happened that day. But the way that they're going to rewrite history for 20 years for what the books say, and that's why these books, these textbooks that the school put out, that stuff's mostly bullshit. It's all just stuff that they want to pass on to the next generation. So I believe that the information that's in books, and I also believe that the reason why they've created this microwave society is for people to not read anymore, because there's so much information in books that if they, I mean, how many people do you think have a library card? One in, maybe 5% tops. One in 20 people, maybe.
Well,
maybe.
but here's the problem though. A lot of times now, like the information that you really need is not in a library.
Yeah, well, it's gone. It's because they took it out. So the information, it's all gone, and that's why you can't even find anything on the internet no more. That's why the only place you can find stuff is Twitter for like the next 2 days, and then it's gone, and TikTok, right? And maybe.
And that's why. So, like I said earlier, but here's the thing. I have a sense of knowing without having to read. And I'm not saying that I'm not perfect, okay? I'm far from it. I am far from perfection. What I do know is that when I know something, I don't hesitate. And that's where, like, I have told people, I know that I have a direct connection to my God, to my source, to my creator. I know I'm directly connected. I see my creator. To me, it's a male. Now, and it may be different for everybody because when you're connected, so typically, my perception is that the creator, the source that each person is able to see is based on the opposite of what you are. I am perfectly comfortable in my divine feminine, that to me, my creator is a masculine. And to some who are comfortable and are honed into their masculine, it may be a feminine. It may not. It just depends on the person. To me, I see male. And like my brother has seen female. That's the only reason why I think it honestly depends on feminine and masculine. I do think that it depends on what energy you harness the most. As to what you see when you do connect. Now, granted, that's when I take the time to meditate, I can see that. But there's just a lot that goes into that, and it is hard for me to sit and meditate because how many times on this phone conversation have I had to hear mom?
Well, you're good at accepting interruptions. Like I can say something and then you go back to what you don't lose your train of thought. It's impressive.
Well, that's where I said, like, so I am very good with, I have a photographic memory. The answer to your question, I have no one way of specifically having a desire to want to help somebody. Like, and it's funny because I want to look at trying to help coach people to gain, that healthy mindset that they need. And it was funny because earlier today, it was like the thought came to my mind, like people are going to think that I'm just looking at coaching somebody who wants to get a mindset for fitness, but it's not just fitness. Like, I mean, let's say you say I need help shifting my mindset so that I can gain like 50 new clients or whatever it is that your business is that you're looking to create. Like, it's a matter of, okay, so what are you doing? What are you doing right now that's working? What are you doing that's not working?
Yeah.
Typically, if you're going to come to somebody for coaching, nothing is working.
Right.
Which means it's mindset. It's all about the mind.
Almost, kind of, not really. Because sometimes people that are doing things that are working are ones that are more open for coaching, and that's how they become better. That's another level. So there's a level of most people,
right.
if you're doing nothing, then you look for a coach to help you do something. Or if you're doing something.
Let me elaborate on that. Those who are coming to coaching that have already, been doing something that's working, it's working to a degree, which means that there's something that they are doing that is still hindering the ability to do more. So that is where...
Well, I think it might have to do with the ability of some people just want to be great. Tiger Woods had a coach not because he needed help and was doing bad, but because he had a desire to be the best. Michael Jordan had coaches not because he was not good at something, but because he wanted to be the best. And there's certain people that do have the drive to want to be the best, and those people are far and few between, but they are out there.
Well, so here's the fun fact. Those people aren't few, far, and in between. There's those people we all have the ability to be those people.
Right.
We all have the ability to be those people by shifting the way that we say, do, think, and feel.
But school has created an environment to make you give up on all those as...
Correct.
Yep, agreed.
And that's why I'm saying even those who are doing things that are successful may still be hindered because, so here's the thing, if they think, oh, well, I can do this, and let's say, for example, let's say you open a car dealership, and you're like, I am okay as long as I make this amount of money. Like, that's why when you ask, like, what I would need to at least get started, really, it's not any one amount. I don't want just any one amount. Like, yeah, $6,000 to $8,000 would replace my husband's income, but that's not going to make me live life the way I want to live life. I want to be abundant. I want to be so abundant that I never have to lack. I don't want to lack for food. I don't want to lack for the things that I need, clothes. I don't want my children to lack. I want to be abundant. And so that comes down to, again, understanding that in reality, you create your reality. You create the life that you have. You create the life that you project for yourself by thinking it, feeling it, and believing it. And the only way that you can do that is to understand that you have that power. Napoleon Hill
says, what the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve.
Well, and that is exactly true. So I'm going to tell you, so we lost, I think I had told you before about us losing a baby back in 2018. And what I told the chaplain that night, because I had told them I didn't need anybody to come into my room. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I was okay to just be alone. And they still sent the chaplain in. I don't understand. I still never, understood why. Chaplain walks into my room and he's like, "Are you sure you don't want to talk?" I said, "Look," I said, "right now, my mind has accepted what my heart cannot understand. And there is no point of time of existence where you're going to give me that understanding. You're not going to be able to provide that. My heart cannot understand because it's thinking with emotion. My mind can accept that this goes far beyond what I currently have the capacity to understand or understand for now." And then now, connecting the dots, understanding or understanding that everything is a matter of reincarnation. Everything gets recycled. My son's soul will be recycled. It will return. It just might return in a different existence, in a different human existence. And it could be that for whatever purpose, that situation was that soul's contract. That is the power of mastery. I have told my previous boss that I do not function the way that many function. I walk the line. So if you remember as kids growing up, the yin yang was so popular. It's like, I don't know why it died, but it died. But essentially, I walk the line between the light and the dark. I walk the line. I don't look at life half empty or half full. I see it as abundant on each side with the potential and the ability to be as great as possible, should that be the path chosen. So that's why I say the path is narrow. If you really think about it, the path isn't about whether it's light or dark. It's about whether or not you're willing to walk that line between and understand that there are things that no matter how life throws it at you, no matter how you slice it, there is always the ability to have a life of abundance, of joy, of love, of peace, of all the things that your heart desires, if you so choose.
Heaven on earth.
That is the new earth.
Wow. That's deep. Well, I took some good notes.
Not what you were expecting on this phone conversation.
No, not at all. But I like this, and I believe, you know, one thing that you said was something about putting pieces together. I believe life is like a big puzzle, and essentially how it works is, you know, have you ever did a puzzle before? Do you do those?
What kind of puzzle?
Just like a puzzle, a jigsaw puzzle.
So I don't do jigsaw puzzles. My favorite, so growing up, my favorite thing used to be Tetris.
Yep.
And
that's good.
It was always funny because I could master any level of Tetris. So, like, I remember at one point when I first met my husband and I used to still play it, my husband's like, how do you do that? Like, how do you manage? Like, I could be at the top, like, reaching the brim before it, like, kills me.
Yep.
And he's like, somehow you manage to get just the right piece and it takes out everything below it.
That's it.
I said, that's just it. I said, it's mastering your mind.
So I believe that when you do a jigsaw puzzle, if you do, let's just say, 1,000-piece puzzle, right? The first thing you got to do is you pour out the box and then you separate and get the edges.
Yes.
And then you get the edges and you put the edges together. And then you put the flowers with the flowers and the grass with the grass and the bricks with the bricks and the trees and the water with the water. And then whatever one seems the most easiest, you dump those out and you start doing those. And then maybe you got somebody sitting on the other, so you're on this side of the table working on the clouds, and I'm over here working on the grass. And then somebody walks up to the puzzle and they get a piece together and they say, oh wow, what a coincidence, I just found that, that's amazing. And it's kind of cool that they came up and found it, but the truth is, you as the separator of the puzzle put all the pieces that need to go together, and they just walked up and did, it wasn't really impressive what they did. They thought it was because they just walked up. And I believe God is doing a puzzle in life. I think that he puts us in the circumstances and situations that we need to be in to meet the people and have the conversations that we need to go to get to what we need to do, because at the end of the day, this is all one big giant puzzle. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, but again, that's where it comes back to, and this is a conversation that I had with my boss, my previous boss. If you realize that, so nothing is coincidence. I think it's fair to say that we all understand nothing is coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is intentional and everything is on purpose.
Specifically at the time everything happens when it's supposed to, too.
Correct. So therefore, then you will understand that it's not something that happens as like a coincidence, because reality is, like, if you look at life as though you had signed a soul contract, right? So you're experiencing what you need to experience when you were supposed to experience it based on your soul's contract.
Mm-hmm.
Which means you knew that at some point you were going to go through it. But again, and there's, I forget who it was, it's a famous author that actually came out with books on this, because she was a hypnosis specialist as a therapist or whatever, and she used to have these sessions with her patients, and through all of her work, it's how she came upon this information. And so essentially what it would be is that we choose everything. We choose everything to the very last detail on what we want, how we want it, what it's to look like, and how we experience it, and so on and so forth. But then when we come to Earth, of course, when you come to Earth and you walk into, Lucifer's territory, it would be cheating if you walked in with the ability of just knowing. So you have to go through this process where essentially you forget. And then you go through the process of, as you go through these experiences, this is why they call it the awakening. As you go through the experiences, you have the choice. Either you awaken or you don't. I don't know. I don't think those are from here. But as you go through the experiences, you're going based on the design of your soul's contract. All right, go outside. What? Go outside so I can get ready to make dinner. But as you go through these experiences, you're going through the things that you, on a soul level, agreed to go through and experience. And so these are things that in this existence, you already knew were going to happen, but because of the construct and because of how it's laid out, you were not allowed to remember. That means that you then have to learn how to process and how to understand each of those things, which is why, and it's funny because I even told my husband, I said, in your Bible, because he keeps going back to the Bible, in your Bible, it speaks of a great awakening. You're not going to tell me the Great Awakening is for the Christians, because if you look at it, you have people all over the world who are now claiming to be Christians. They are saved, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. And yet somehow, none of you geniuses have reached spiritual enlightenment. Somehow, none of you figure it out. Mm-hmm. And so, and I told him, like, and this is why he gets mad, because he does not have the ability to understand. And it's sad because at one point he probably did, but somewhere along the lines, he turned off that ability. It'll come back on, but I don't think it will. So, but that being said, like all of this stuff, all of it's by design. All of it is by choice. You choose it. You chose it. People are like, well, I would never choose for this to happen. Well, actually, I beg to differ with you. I beg to differ with you because it might not be what you would choose, but you do on a soul level. That is why it's stated that if you connect to your consciousness, you would gain the understanding. Lean not on thine own understanding, because you as a human, based on the ways of man, are wicked. You do not have the ability to understand or understand what the lessons of this life are to teach you. And that's where I'm just not like many. Not like most.
No, that's true. You're not. For sure not.
I tell a lot of people that. I said, I'm not like many, and I am not like most. I would be like probably no one.
Yeah, but that's a good thing, because that's what, if in order to get to where you want to be in this financially free lifestyle, living in abundance, whatever you want to call it, the people that are like everybody else don't make it there.
Well, and that's just, see, here's the thing. I used to be like everybody else.
Well, most people started that way.
I had that mentality and that construct to be those people, but that's why and it was funny because it was a part of what my conversation with my husband was not that long ago about why and what it is with jobs that I apparently struggle with. And I told him, I said, I am not meant to work or spend my life chasing something that does not set me free.
Right.
If it takes away my ability to enjoy and live, then it is not something I'm meant to do.
You don't need a boss. You can't have a boss. Nobody can.
Right.
That's not good for you. Let me tell you something. So you ever heard of the 80-20 rule before?
Yep.
20% of the people do 80% of the work.
Yep.
So here in business, just in general, and I'm speaking on this business that I'm in, is 100 people start, 80 or 20 people get a license. Okay.
Yeah.
And so 20 people get a license of the 100 people that start. And then the 80-20 rule is still real. So of those 20 people that get a license, 20% of people do something. That's 4. Okay?
Yeah.
And then of those 4, 20% of them do something big. which is 0.08, which means that's 8 out of 1,000. And then that number keeps on doubling, and so your 8 out of 1,000 is 16 out of 10,000 or 32 out of 100,000. So when you figure out how big you want to win, you figure out what the pool of people that can win that big is, and you got to make yourself valuable enough to get to that level of winning. And you got to find a vehicle that will get you there, financially speaking, right? Because we got to make some money here somehow.
Well, but see, that's where, and this is the part that I'm honestly the most fascinated with, is the law of attraction.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's funny because I test this theory, and I test it not because I'm working, because I'm now not working, but I test it in the fact that I push my husband in a way that he doesn't realize that I push him. And he doesn't understand where I'm at, because he's never going to reach that level, and I have to accept that. But that being said, my husband will make comments of, well, my check's not going to be blah blah blah, and I looked at him and I said, well, in what mind or in what world do you know that? Like, how do you know? Do you actually know it's not going to be? I said, well, what if you stop saying that, and instead of saying that, say my check is going to be more than I expected?
What does he do?
He is a independent contractor for a company that goes out, and they essentially do the roofing and assessments for insurance companies, insurance adjusters, and his report. So basically, let's just say there's a big storm, and your house has like damage to the roof. Or let's say there's a big storm, and it's not because of the storm, but you want to get your roof replaced or repaired. You go through your insurance company, because these other companies come out and they're like, well, yeah, you can go through your insurance and it will be paid for and blah, 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 this, that, and the other. They sell you the stars and the moon, give you everything that's false, promise you the world, under-deliver. But essentially, they come out and tell you all this stuff. And when they come out and tell you this stuff, then you go through and you do the process. They file the claim. All right, it's all right. They'll come out. But they'll come out, and or they will, go through the insurance. The insurance company either comes out, or they send a person from, like, the kind of company that my husband works for, out for them to evaluate and assess. And once they complete that evaluation, it's sent immediately over to the insurance adjuster. And I will tell you, about 80 to 90% of the time, the insurance adjuster is always based on the recommendation of the person that they send out, which would be my husband.
That's why he's in Texas right now, because of the storms.
Yep.
All right, I get it.
So I'm going to be honest. Like, at this point, he's projected to probably make. He's looking at making about 20 grand in the next 4 weeks. Are you there?
Yep, that's good.
So he's projected to make about 20 grand in the next 4 weeks because of how much work they have from all the storms. And so, because that was something like up here, we've had the water, the season this year has just been completely different. It's so different. It's unusual, which is how you can tell that they're doing stuff to the water.
Chemtrails, yep.
Yeah, and so it's like you have to, if you're blind, you're just stupid at this point. But
right.
But nevertheless, he's down there because they've had so many, and they have so many claims that they don't have enough people to go out and do their inspection.
Yep, and insurance is big business, so they don't care how they'll get people from anywhere and pay them whatever they'll get to go do it.
Exactly, and so, but they actually pay them to go out. Like, I mean, he makes good money. That's why, like, with all this stuff that was happening with my previous employer, I kept telling him, I was like, look, understand that when I reach a point, I've reached a point.
Yeah.
Because the reality is, I'm not here because I have to be. I don't have to be here.
Right.
I'm here because I choose to be here. Stop it. And so I was like, I choose to be here. I choose to come in. I said, otherwise, if it's something that doesn't, if it steals my peace, if it gets in between, what I'm looking to do and my future, I don't want it. Yeah. I don't want it. So I'm not going to keep choosing it just to deal with drama.
Good. Here's what we should do. Let's actually do a Zoom. So what we do is we help people with their finances. You got to get an insurance license. You already were studying for that. You're going to be able to pass that easy. Then you got to get an investment license so that you can help people start Roth IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, college savings accounts, 529s, all these different numbers that you may or may not know what they are. You got to get your licenses so that you can do that. Make sense? Because you have the personality to make people like you and make people listen to you, and the confidence, and you have a way with your words that if you learn what you're talking about in this world, people will listen to you just because of the confidence that you have in yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you need what?
I'm talking to my daughter, sorry.
Oh, okay. And so, at the end of the day, I need 30, 45 minutes on the Zoom so I can show you some simple concepts so that you can make a decision and say, yes, I want to learn this, or no, I don't. And then I'll know if I need to keep following up with you, because in this conversation and the last conversation, I'm a pretty good judge of if somebody can do this. Now, if they have the ability to. Now, will somebody do it is harder to determine, because that's your drive, your determination, your ambition, your motivation, your will to want to do it, right? But some people don't have the ability to even ever make it. Some people aren't. Nobody's going to follow some people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you have the ability to let people follow you. So my job is to show you the vehicle and say, here's the vehicle, here's how it drives. Do you want to get your license? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not that far away. I'm just constantly.
You're good. I can hear you. I want to show you this so I can say I did my fair chance and showed you, and then it's your decision to say, yeah, I want to try this, or no, I'm good, thanks for your time.
Let me ask this question. What is the cost to start doing
$99.
That's to get enrolled, but is that what's going to cost to study and get the license?
$99 pays for your license. That your license is paid for, your first license. At $99, you don't got no kind of background issues, do you?
But no. I already went through. I'm going to tell you, if I already went through everything and got licensed once, no.
Yeah, good. So you don't have no felonies.
No.
Because we're a little bit more strict than a lot of other companies, because we give people a chance to get into this industry without going and getting a college degree. So our standards are higher, because people claim the pyramid scheme, right? It's a pyramid. Only the people make the money. So we've made our standards much higher than the Morgan Stanleys and Edward Jones and Charles Schwab and all the investment firms you've heard of. Our standards to get started are higher than theirs in a legal perspective. Does that make sense? So if you can pass a background check, it's $99. That pays for your fingerprints, your background check, your study materials, and your first test. And then and it's $25 a month. That's your business expense to be able to write business online from wherever. You can make if you get me in front of some people, I'll make you. I want you to at a minimum get a $750 bonus in the next 3 weeks. So you'll get that, and then you'll have your license, and you can take your license wherever you want. You can get paid. I made $800 on a brand new person that I never knew. I was in a doctor's office the other day, and I went through the other doctor's offices in the area. I met a business owner, had a meeting with him, and made $700, and it took me about 2 hours. So, and that's just because anytime I go in, yesterday I took my wife to the airport, and on the way home I saw a business park. I stopped in and I got 15 business owners' numbers in about 2 hours. So now what I've done is I've got my securities license, and instead of talking to individuals, I spend the time that I'm spending on building business, typically trying to get 401ks into companies, because then if I can start your 401k and you got 10 employees, I can go do what we call a wellness workshop for the company, and then I can find individual clients in by being introduced by the business owner. You know what I mean? So I'm not just out prospecting random people anymore. The reason I followed up with you as many times as I have is because of this is the second time now that we've had a good conversation where I know you have the confidence and you're not a dummy. You know what I'm saying?
Are we sure about that? No, I'm kidding.
I mean, maybe you are. Maybe I am too. I don't know. I mean, a lot of people probably think you are, but I don't think so. I think
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know that I've ever had anybody think that I'm dumb.
I'm saying that people probably think that you're out there and that she's wild and crazy and she's lost it. That's probably like I get that too.
But actually, so here's the fun thing. Like the same conversation we just had, it's so logical that they don't think that.
Yeah, well, it only makes sense, but most people are afraid to let something make sense because they need to believe all the shit that they've been taught for the last however old they are.
Well, that's just it. They choose to believe that.
Right.
I do not.
I like that. That's important. That's what success in a business like this takes is not caring what other people think and knowing that what we do is right and what we do is correct and good for people and we're out to help people and 80% of people are broke. They have no hope. 80% of people are living check to check. They got no hope unless they do something different. And they say they want to do something different. And what's different is they're looking for a new job with a new boss that's going to give them the same results. The only way to success here.
It's the same thing with weight loss. People say they want to do something different. They want to make the change.
Right.
And they really don't want to commit to it.
At all. They don't.
So,
I went on a journey. I've lost 60 pounds in the last year. So, and I did it with I did it myself. Nope.
I mean, I did it, but I absolutely don't.
That's
That was because of my health. Like, I had to use something to get me that push. But I still, the rest of it, the diet, the commitment, the drive, the determination, the consistency, all that's me. That's all mine.
Most people don't have it to do that. You understand that?
Yes.
Most people don't have it to achieve anything in life, and that's why people are broke and watching Netflix all day long.
Yeah, no, that's not my life. So, I have to figure out, so I mean, essentially...
All I want is 30 minutes. I'm asking for 30 minutes to schedule and you not to cancel on me and actually show up when we schedule it this time. I actually want 45 because you're a talker.
That's not my fault. It's natural.
I ain't mad. I like this whole conversation that we just had, and I don't know. It's over an hour, but I'm a fan. I think you got a lot to share with the world, and you're a likable person, and you can create a team of people that are gonna want to follow you, and you got the ability to build a whole organization if you take it to that point. You know what I mean? Most people don't have that. Most people don't have the what's it called? Charisma to want to be followed or to even. I'm not gonna sit here and listen to most people for an hour and 15 minutes. I promise you. I would have cut most people off after 5 minutes. Like, okay, cool, have a good day. But I want to listen because you're in another. You think differently, which is a huge what it takes to win.
It's a win on its own.
Yeah, well, it's one of the main ingredients of success is the ability to think different and not care.
Yeah. Okay, well, why don't we do this? What's today?
Today's Tuesday, the 11th. I got a 1 o'clock open tomorrow, or a little bit of time on Thursday morning, if that's better. Do either of those work?
Let's shoot for tomorrow at 1.
Do you have anything to do at 1 o'clock tomorrow that you're gonna not be able to show up for?
No, not unless if something changes. I'll know first thing in the morning. But
Okay.
as of right now, I have nothing going on.
Okay. I'm gonna send you a link real quick. I think I have your information already. I was looking through people that I had meetings scheduled with that I didn't meet, and I was like, I want to.
give it to you. It's 681.
I found. I think I got it. Hold on a second. 1 o'clock tomorrow. S Burmeister 0706 at Gmail. Is that a good email?
Yep, it is.
Burmeister.
Yep.
And what's your number?
It is 681-389-7371. Holy shit.
Okay, I'm going to send you an invite right now. 681-389-7371.
Correct.
Okay, it's going to go to your calendar, and you'll get a text message about an hour before. But do me a favor, in the morning tomorrow, matter of fact, I'm just going to call you in the morning and say, are you still good?
Got it.
Okay?
Yep.
Good talking to you.
All right, you have a good night.
Right on, you too.